Good morning, class. Today, we're going to just review our three methods of solving quadratics by taking a complete quadratic and solving it all three ways. So we'll start with factoring, which was the first method that we learned. Okay. So here's our quadratic equation, 3x squared minus 8x minus 35 is 0. In order to factor it, we can use the product and sum method. So we want a product of negative 105 and a sum of negative 8. After coming up with the numbers, negative 15 and 7, we replace the middle term here with negative 15x, positive 7x. Then we group the first two terms and remove the common factor of 3x from them. We then group the last two terms, removing the common factor of 7 from them. You can see, of course, we're going to get x minus 5 in each spot here. This makes the final form x minus 5 multiplied by 3x plus 7. In order to solve the quadratic now, we take each of these factors and set them equal to 0. Like this. If x minus 5 is 0, x will be 5. If 3x plus 7 is 0, this means 3x is negative 7 and x is negative 7/3. Okay, in the next part here, I'm going to show how you can take the same quadratic and solve it with the quadratic formula. The first thing we do is compare this with ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. And in doing so, you will find that a is 3, b is negative 8, and c is negative 35. At this point, we solve by substitution into the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is written here. It starts with the negative of b. If b is negative, its negative, of course, is a positive number. Under the square root sign, we have b squared. Remember to put b in a bracket if it's negative, because this value needs to be positive 64. So this again is b squared minus 4 times a times c. Looks like I'm missing a division line here. Let me try to sneak that in. Okay, and in the denominator, 2 times a. So the denominator is 6. And if you put this into your calculator, you should be able to do it all in one step. You'll get 484. Now the square root of 484 is 22. So we now have 8 plus 22 and 8 minus 22 as our numerators. This will be 30 over 6, which is 5. This will be negative 14 over 6, which reduces to negative 7/3. And you'll see, of course, that we're getting the very same answers in both the methods. Okay, so now last method, which is not our preferred method. It's a little more trouble. It's the method of completion of the square. So we'll look at that next. Okay, let's cover up a little bit of this perhaps. So here we go. We're going to use completion of the square on this quadratic. It's a complete quadratic, a trinomial. So in this method, remember, we have to first move this term to the other side of the equation. We also have to ensure that we have just 1x squared. So that will mean dividing all terms by 3 as well. So I've done that here. Okay, so first I moved this number to the other side, you can see it is now positive 35. And then I went ahead and divided all terms by 3. Over to the right is the magic number calculation. So you take the coefficient of x, which happens to be negative 8/3. You will be dividing it by 2 and then squaring it. When you divide negative 8/3 by 2, you will get negative 4/3. And squaring that number will give you 16/9. The magic number is now added to both sides of the equation. So you can see it added to both the right, this would be the right and the left sides of the equation. Okay, these calculations with fractions, of course, can be done with your calculators. So I can show you this one if you like, negative 8/3 divided by 2 and then all squared. So I'll just put that down for a minute. So negative 8/3, like this, divided by 2 equals, now that's the mixed fraction, but if we hit shift and hit this button again, there we go, that's the negative 4/3, and then we can square that. Once again, that's the mixed fraction. For the improper fraction, hit shift and then the button again. Okay, so 16/9 if you'd like to use your calculator for all of those operations. So on the right side, we take 16/9 now and add 35/3. So again, you can do it here if you like, plus 35/3. Okay, mixed, improper. 121/9 will be our right side. On the left side, we have to write this factor, this trinomial rather, in its factored form. So as the square of a binomial. Okay, so we take the trinomial and we factor it. It will always be the square of a binomial. We learned in our class that the number here will always be represented here after dividing by 2, but before squaring. So that's a little trick for you, but essentially it's product of 16/9, sum of negative 8/3. So the numbers are both negative 4/3. So that's why this is the factored form of the trinomial. Okay, at this point, we will take the square root of both sides because we're trying to solve for x, you see. So we're gonna eliminate this square now, and that's gonna mean taking the square root of the right side. Again, the fraction button will do that for you. So I still have my 121/9. I can push square root equals mixed, improper to get 11/3. Or I could just know that the square root of 121 is 11, the square root of 9 is 3. Okay, so notice the square is gone on the left side. Okay, and now here is where we're gonna get our two answers. So we're gonna set x minus 4/3 equal to 11/3 and x minus 4/3 equal to negative 11/3. And therefore, to find x, we will be adding 4/3 to each side. So here we go. We add 4/3 to each side to get our final results. Okay, I'm going to show you one more example like this. So here we go again. We've got this quadratic equation. We're going to solve it by factoring, by using the formula, and by completing the square. First, factoring. Product. 12 times negative 56 is negative 672. We want a sum of 11. And again, it'll take you a few minutes to come up with these numbers typically. Once we have them, we replace our middle term. we remove 4x as common from the first two terms and negative 7 common from the latter two. The factors are 3x plus 8, 4x minus 7. You should always check this by foiling using your multiplication to ensure that you've got the correct result. We set each binomial equal to 0, like this, and isolate x. And we get our two answers. Now we can use the quadratic formula. So we will have A is 12, B is 11, C is negative 56. And we substitute into the formula. So this is the negative of B. Here we have B squared minus 4 times A times C in the bottom 2A. We work out our discriminant next. You can do this with your calculators, just left to right. 11 squared minus 4 times 12 times negative 56 gives you this number here, 2,809. Okay, so this time B is positive. Compare it with your last example where we had a negative B value, and of course you can see the differences here. Okay, this number is the square of 53, so our two answers come from here by taking negative 11 plus 53 and negative 11 minus 53 as our numerators. This will be 42 on top of 24, which reduces to 7/4. Here, negative 64 over 24, which reduces to negative 8/3. Okay, lastly, we're going to solve it by completion of the square. So here's the original. We need to move the constant and divide by 12, which is done now here. So the number has been moved, it's positive 56. Then I've gone ahead and divided all terms by 12. Okay, 56 over 12 is the same as 14/3. Magic number calculation, here it is off to the side. The coefficient of x this time is positive. It's 11/12. After dividing it by 2, we'll get 11/24. Squaring the top, squaring the bottom, we get 121 over 576. We will add that number to the left and right sides, like this. You can work this number out with your calculator. 14/3 plus 121 over 576 is mixed improper. So I prefer this form here. So I will write that now on the right side. The left side is written in its factored form, x plus 11/24. Here's the number after we divided the coefficient of x by 2. Okay, but again, it's product of 121 over 576, sum of 11/12. The numbers are both 11/24. And this is why we have this as our factored version of this trinomial. Take the square root of both sides. Okay, so again, you can do this on the calculator if you wish. Okay, so here we have our answer, 53 over 24. Do not forget to precede that answer with your plus or minus signs. Every time we take the square root, there will be two answers. Okay, and then we finish up in this way with positive 53/24 on the right, and over here on the right instead negative 53 over 24. So these x values are found in each case by subtracting 11/24. And here we have the same answers, of course, are obtained when you use any of the three methods. There are a couple here that I'm suggesting that you try. So I've provided you with a couple of them. And again, the instructions would be take it, solve it by factoring, by using the formula, and by completing the square. These are the answers you'll obtain each time. And there's a second one included here for you as well to try. And these are the answers you should expect each time. Okay, great. Thanks a lot. I hope that goes well for you.